At 7:03 to order. Ms. Jones, if you will please call the roll.
Ms. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Magner,
Here.
Mr. Callie,
Here.
Mr. Butler,
Present.
Ms. Anderson,
Present.
Mr. McDonald,
Here.
Ms. Schulist,
Here.
Ms. Sinyard,
Present.
Ms. Schilling.
Thank you. Everyone will rise for the prayer and pledge. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather here today. Be with us as we consider what's before us and guide us to sound decisions through constructive discussion and debate. Give us patience and understanding throughout the process. In your name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will move on to the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Callie Williams, go ahead and call roll, Ms. Jones.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Ms. Williams, Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Mr. Butler,
Aye.
Ms. Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Ms. Sinyard,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye. Do we have any citizen comments this evening?
None tonight.
None tonight. Move to approval of the minutes from the October 10th, 2023 regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll second it. Callie McDonald. Call roll, please.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Ms. Sinyard,
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Ms. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Butler,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
We will move to item 1 in new business, PC Resolution PC 3523, Development Plan, Brush Creek Subdivision, 37.21 acres, map 023, parcel 51.00, current zoning RS15, property owner S&W Fairview Partners.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from item 1 and 4.
Make a motion to approve PC 3523?
Second.
Callie Williams. If there's a representative, the applicant wants to join us, we will start with staff comments and then anything you would like to add.
I'm Louis Sloyan with T-Square Engineering, here to answer any questions.
Thanks.
The staff comments, T-Squared Engineering submitted on behalf of A1 Home Builders a development plan for Brush Creek subdivision. It's a residential subdivision. It's currently zoned RS15. Located tax map 23, parcel 51. The recommendation from the planning staff is for approval. If you have any further questions, we can answer those.
There was a reference to a information sheet that was to be attached to staff comments that was not in the packet. Do y'all have that? An information sheet
That-
for the rural settlement classification is attached to the staff report under Fairview Ford 2040 plan in the staff comments.
That was placed in our staff report by Mr. Kevin Chasteen. The rural settlement classification for this property is not really applicable to this because it is already zoned RS15. Although that is the designation in the 2040 classification, this property is currently zoned RS15 for this development.
Thank you. Was there anything you wanted to add, or are you just here for answer questions?
Here to answer any questions you guys might have.
We'll open that up to to the planning commission if you have anything. Mr. Magner, you have something? Looked like you wanted to say something.
But I can wait if there's other comments.
Go ahead.
Just a question, minimum lot size is supposed to be 15,000 square feet. Based on the table, this is sheet 3 of 3 in the submission. I think lots 16 and 17 are under 15,000. Can you clarify that, please? And they got my attention because they look a little small as well. They're in the cul-de-sac.
I believe those are smaller to avoid the steep slopes in the area. We could look to enlarge those. It would just kind of be void space, not buildable area. There's basically where the tree line is kind of shown on there. The site drops off drastically going down towards Camp Marymount.
Then my other comment, and I know this isn't final plat yet, but can you talk about drainage a little bit, specifically the lots? I know it's hard to see up on the screen, but 5, 6, 7, and 8, they're showing on that southern border. And through there, the contour is pitched towards Plan South. So, but there doesn't seem to be enough drainage easement there to keep that from pitching onto the neighbors' properties.
Yes, so currently the plan that we've come up with is lot line swales and also a swale in the back to try to capture as much as we can and funnel it towards that basin. There's an existing, it kind of acts as a swale right now that goes to a current pipe that crosses the property just to it's Plan South to the east. So the plan is to kind of utilize that and not discharge any more to that existing pipe. We're actually planning on reducing the amount going to that existing pipe. I don't believe that pipe is has been taken the best care of, so we're trying to reduce what we can going to that pipe.
I might just recommend for the staff to help us watch that border there so we're not pitching to an adjacent property. Especially with the contours, that's a pretty steep site, so we can get some pretty good watershed.
Yes, sir. We'll gladly work with staff on that.
Do we need to amend with a variance or anything for these smaller lots? I mean, like that's against the RS 15, it would need to be exception, correct?
Lewis, I guess my question about lot 16 and 17, I guess, how do you plan to increase the lot size? Are you going to change the alignment of the cul-de-sac?
No, we could adjust the frontage there just a little bit. You're allowed to decrease the frontage on the cul-de-sac. Just so long as that at the setback line, you're still meeting that minimum. And we could pull the lot line, Plan South to the west and increase the area there.
Because along with that, I think your minimum width is also 75 feet at the building line. So can you achieve that as well if you?
I believe we have enough sufficient area there.
And it looked like there were some outstanding comments about the open space. Can you explain where all the open space is and?
Yes, so primarily surrounding, it's kind of on the east side there. There's approximately 16 acres of open space. A significant portion is it's on the west side and east side. It's heavily wooded. We're trying to keep those woods there. We also have a small open space on the north entrance to the subdivision that will have a playground and the mail kiosk, and then along with another open space for the detention basin right by that pipe that will exit the property on the east.
Okay. It seemed like maybe we weren't qualifying enough in the playgrounds and stuff. Is that?
So the general recommendation of the subdivision regulations are to provide 10% of the area as open space. And because this is an RS-15 zoned property, that requires open space to be playgrounds, walking trails, neighborhood greens, recreation fields, and along those lines, we're working with T Squared to potentially add some walking trails throughout their open space to help achieve that. And that is just a general, it states the developer should generally not set aside less than 10%. It is not a mandatory 10%.
To put it in perspective, it's about 40% open space that is provided with this plan.
And to speak to your other point about the lot 16 and 17, I believe the easiest and most efficient method of ensuring that those are increased is to make that as a condition of approval, that those lots being increased to a minimum of 15,000 square feet.
What are they now?
I have the table up. Lot 16 is just under 14,700, so about 300 feet off. But 17 is 13,423, so that's a good 1,500 square feet less. Well, unless there's any other commentary, I would make a motion that we amend the approval to create a condition that both lots 16 and 17 must meet the minimum square footage requirement.
I'll second.
Magner Sinyard with the amendment. If you can call the roll on that. Ms. Jones.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Miss Sinyard,
Aye.
Miss Schulist,
Aye.
Miss Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Butler. Oh, sorry. Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Miss Williams,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye. Was there, that was just for the amendment to the approval. Is there any other questions from the Planning Commission? If not, Ms. Jones, you can call the roll.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Miss Williams, Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Miss Sinyard,
Aye.
Miss Schulist,
Aye.
Miss Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye. We'll move on to item 2 of new business, PC Resolution PC 36-23, Site Plan Commercial, Ace Hardware, 0, Fairview Boulevard, 7.15 acres, map 047, parcel 022.08, property owner Murphy Group, LLC.
Make a motion to approve PC
Second.
3623.
Was it? Callie Anderson. And we will ask anybody who's here representing the applicant if they want to join us, and we'll have city staff read comments first.
The project before you is an Ace Hardware site plan. The applicant is Chad Murphy with Murphy Group. The owner is also Chad Murphy. As you can see on the location map on the screen, it is located on Highway 100. The Meadows of Fairview sit kind of behind the property. It's previously where France was located. The property to the north across Planters Road is designated as a public right-of-way, while the property north of that is zoned commercial general. The properties to the south and east are zoned RM12 multifamily residential. The properties to the west across Fairview Boulevard are zoned commercial general as well. The parcels to the north are currently vacant, while the parcels to the south and east contain multifamily residential land uses. The two parcels to the west both contain single-family residential uses, even though those parcels are zoned commercial. Our staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the Ace Hardware in order to construct a 13,230 square foot commercial building that will be used as a hardware store, along with required parking, stormwater infrastructure, and landscaping as submitted on September 15th, 2023, with the following conditions of approval: that all staff comments be addressed prior to the pre-construction meeting.
Thank you. Is there anyone representing the applicant present?
I'm Trent Smith with Southern Consulting, the engineering firm.
Thanks, Trent. Is there anything you would like to add, or you just want to take
I
any
like
questions?
the way it's going so far, but I do have to add something. I think we need to ask for a variance for an above-ground detention pond. I don't know if that needs to go as part of this or a secondary item, but our detention pond, the intent is that it be back in the woods. It won't be in visual, observable, if you will. We did the Fairview Assisted Living and the Subway up there by Denny's and have a similar pond tucked in the back, and hopefully they're okay. But this will be hopefully this will be very similar.
Particular piece that's kind of high, right? There's nothing really running down onto it, correct?
Yeah, we're not going to have any run-on.
Yeah.
We're running off, and, hopefully we can put a large enough pond back. I don't think there'll be any doubt that we're going to detain and slow the water much better than what is currently occurring out there.
Sure, yeah. We'll open it up to the Planning Commission for questions.
Seems like we have a lot of unaddressed comments. Is that still true? Did we get these remaining pages and et cetera?
The majority of those items are cosmetic. I try to get as much of those done as we can when the initial submittal occurs. But I did have a comment, like Trent spoke to, about the stormwater detention. So what it says is that, without further design approval from the PC, stormwater detention facilities shall be underground for all commercial and industrial development per the stormwater ordinance. So that's the variance that's being requested tonight by Trent Smith. But yeah, as far as the open issues go, if I make a mark on one sheet, it counts it as an open issue. So it sometimes can be exaggerated, if that makes any sense.
I'm actually reading through all the comments. So, I mean, yes, sometimes they're cosmetic, but sometimes we don't know how much to ask for because we've got propane tanks that need to move and access easement, et cetera. There's one page that's lit up.
I think you're speaking to the utility sheet. So Trent, do you want to speak to that?
I can't speak. I don't have them in front of me, but you mentioned the access easement. I believe you're referring to the undeveloped portion of the property to the west. Is that a cross-access easement? Well, we own the property, so we can't give ourselves an easement at this time.
This is like show and label a cross-access easement for the proposed access onto Highway 100.
That's, I assume, I don't know exactly what that means, because we own the entire property. It would be a moot point to give ourselves an easement. We have ownership of that.
Trent's correct on that. That comment was made for if that property to the south was going to be developed by someone other than themselves. If that
Okay.
parcel was going to be subdivided off and was going to be developed by someone other than current property owner, then they would need to have that cross-access
And that
easement.
may happen in the future, but right now, there's no plan or anything in the works for that.
And as far as the utility sheet goes, the applicant expressed to us, they've been in communication with Michael Rogers from Dixon County Water Authority, and they've addressed, I believe, all those comments, is what we were told. He sent those comments previous to us sending the engineering and planning ones. So they've addressed, to my knowledge, most of those.
Are there any additional questions?
I have a couple. Just curious, are we just sheet flowing water down the entrance ramp onto Highway 100? Is there a way that we're collecting that there?
We're not. We are sheet flowing out to Highway 100, a small amount. Most of the site is going to the detention pond. So there'll just be a short little reach
Just mostly
that
the
will
ramp,
come
the
out.
entrance ramp itself primarily?
Just the entrance ramp itself, yes.
And then I don't see sidewalks. So
Oh,
what's
gosh.
what's the plan for,
I can't remember. I don't open up my big drawing.
I don't see them along Fairview Boulevard. Unless if they're just not
Well,
hatched.
the question is, Fairview is, Highway 100 is going to be widened. Are we wanting to,
Yeah, so let me comment on
want
that.
us
I've-
to-
I know we've had some projects talk about this over the last couple of months, but I see a lot of people walking along the roadways, and given the speed of a federally funded widening project, it could take a couple years. And it's concerning to me. We've got a lot of citizens having to walk on a very busy, about to get busier
Well-
street.
I'm gonna offer up something from them, and they can slap me silly later, but the sidewalk fund, would you rather the sidewalk fund be exercised?
I'll open that up for commentary from the rest of the commission.
I think you make valid points that there are a lot of people that walk down 100 currently. My question would be, just thinking, going off memory of just driving past that empty lot over and over again, it's a pretty steep incline there
It's elevated.
that I'm just curious if sidewalks were to be added, how that would actually, I mean, how that would go, how do you go about doing
Well,
that?
yeah, in the future,
I
it's
mean,
probably
are you,
retaining.
are you, I'm guessing you're gonna take some of the grade off of that entrance?
We're dropping the grade, the whole parking lot's coming down to some degree. And we're reducing the existing driveway that you see now. What we propose to build would be much less steep. That being said, putting a sidewalk between a Highway 100 and their property is not going to be a thrill. That's why I was hoping someone might jump on the sidewalk fund. And my thinking was that I'm not taking into account the current pedestrian traffic, is what we put in is going to be torn out soon.
Sure. To be fair, though, that is a discussion that's been had, and it could be 5, 10, 15.
Well, and we
who
think
knows
soon,
how
who
long.
knows? It might be 10
GNRC
years
meetings
or
every
something.
month, and it's going to be a lot faster than that. So I'm in favor of money going into the fund so that when that widening happens, we'll have money there to put sidewalks in. We won't have to rip them out and then redo.
Sure, that-
And if we redo, it's going to be on our dime, not the money from the fund. So that's just my opinion.
Something else I may add, the frontage of this development slopes towards Highway 100 as he has stated, and there's a current drainage ditch that kind of captures that runoff and directs it and keeps it off Highway 100. So if you add a sidewalk, like he said, it may become complicated to get that stormwater runoff directed appropriately.
Without a trench drain.
Exactly.
I'm also concerned more people I see walk lately, particularly in that area, but in favor of the lieu of fee, they're gonna actually widen. But one of the things I'd like to start seeing is we keep talking about these steep lots and different stuff. We're eventually gonna get to a spot where the building's built, the road's built, and we can't put in a sidewalk because it's not graded correctly where we can get to ADA compliance. And so we need to start, even if they're paying to the sidewalk fund, talking about grading that's compliant and having a plan. Even if it's this side of the road, we've got to start thinking about this because we're going to get locked in where every other lot makes it that there's no sidewalks.
I would say when they widen, I would think when they widen, there would be a different plan than what than what it would be initially right now. So we don't know really what that looks like.
Not truly, but if you're parking lots at a certain grade and your road's here, you can't get enough space flat at an ADA compliance with the right slope. Eventually, you're gonna run into some issues where you're gonna be like every other lot, prevents you from having sidewalks on both sides of the street.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. I think the in lieu of sidewalk pavement is good. There is a project actively in the works with TDOT, a sidewalks project from Bowie Lake Road all the way to Deer Ridge that hopefully will be in the next 2 to 3 years. It keeps continuing to get pushed. It got tied to the Cumberland Road improvements and got halted a little bit so it wouldn't overcome twice. But so you may or may not have already spoke to TDOT, but you may in the process speak to them about the plan that they have that can maybe be beneficial. But they do plan on they've acquired the right of way all the way through that strip on 100, and they plan on doing sidewalks before a road widening project. So I will make a motion to amend to allow for the variance for an above-ground retention pond in the rear of the property and to allow for payment in lieu of sidewalks to the fund. Is that proper?
Second.
Butler, Anderson with the amendment. We call roll on that, Ms. Jones?
Mr. Butler,
Aye.
Ms. Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Senyard,
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Ms. Williams, Mr. McDonald,
Aye. Is there any additional questions or comments from staff regarding this resolution?
No additional comments.
I'm sorry, from Planning Commission. Did I say staff? We can call the roll, Ms. Jones.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Ms. Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Senyard,
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Mr. Butler,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Ms. Williams, Mr. McDonald,
Aye. Resolution passes 8-0. Move on to new business item number 3, PC Resolution PC 37-23, rezoning 621 Highway 96, 4.35 acres, map 022P, parcel 00700, property owner SM Commercial LLC. Do we have a motion?
Sorry, what are we rezoning from to?
Says, commercial sorry. It's probably in this one, yes. Commercial general to RM8.
For the record?
Yeah. I
Because I
figured,
don't think everyone, in the public sees, but just the one page, so anyway. Okay.
staff comments, I assumed would read
RM8.
that part, but, yeah. Do we have a motion? I'll motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. Shoelist, McDonald. And staff comment, or staff, if you would like to read your comments, please.
The project is 621 Highway 96. The application is for a rezone. The applicant is Mr. Timothy Mangrum with SM Commercial. Mr. Mangrum has submitted to the city a request to rezone the entire 4.35 acre parcel located at 621 Highway 96. The property is currently zoned Commercial General, and the requested zone district is multifamily residential RM8. The properties to the north are currently zoned RS40. The properties to the east across Highway 96 are Commercial General and RS40. The properties to the south is currently zoned RM8, and the properties to the west are zoned R20. The parcels to the north and east contain primarily single-family residential land uses, while all other remaining properties are currently vacant. The Fairview Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan designated the property as a transition corridor. The transition corridor classification notes the appropriate land uses are single-family residential, office, and civic institutional, and the appropriate zone district is RS40. An information sheet for the transition corridor can be found in the Fairview Forward Plan. The request, RM8 multifamily residential, is listed as a zone district that is appropriate within the transition corridor. Additionally, the applicant has stated the proposed use for the property is multifamily. The multifamily residential land use is not listed as an appropriate land use within the transition corridor classification. The requested rezoning to RM8 and proposed multifamily residential development does match recent rezonings for adjacent parcels to the south. SM Commercial LLC, the owner of the property at 621 Highway 96, is also the owner of the property Tax Map 22, Parcel 178.02, and Tax Map 22, Parcel 167. Both of the parcels are located to the south of 621 Highway 96 and have been rezoned to RM8. This property, when it was purchased by Mr. Mangrum, you could build RM8 within Commercial General. He had purchased this property as a wholesale development there of an RM8 development. He rezoned the two parcels next to it to create those as RM8, believing that he could build RM8 within this. That change occurred in 2019. He's now ready for moving forward in a development phase, and he is seeking to rezone this to RM8 to match the parcels next door. Our staff recommendation is for approval of this. And the condition of approval that is listed in here is the rezoning request will be placed on the Thursday, December 7th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting agenda for consideration with the potential for a public hearing and second reading.
Thank you. Mr. Mangrum, is there anything you would like to add, or?
The only thing I might add is the 6 lots that face Lake Road was a part of this property. When another partnership that I was still am involved with, we acquired this tract that we're rezoning, and those 6 lots were one piece at the time. Those 6 lots were also zoned commercial, which fronted on Lake Road. We rezoned those for single family, and those homes have been built. And it was our understanding up till 6, 7, 8 months ago that the RM8 was still a designation in CG. Then, of course, I think, as you all know, there was a document found that was signed, I think, somewhere around 2019 that done away with that no one seemed to know about till fairly recent. So that's what spurred us to apply for this rezoning to match the 2 contiguous parcels to the south.
Thank you. We'll open it up to the Planning Commission for question and comments.
Staff, do you mind, you read the portion that says that it is appropriate and the line 2 sentences later that says it's not appropriate.
So the transition corridor only lists appropriate zoning as RS40 and only lists single-family detached residential, office, and civic institutional as appropriate land uses. So it should state that the RM8 requested zone and the stated preferred land use of multifamily is neither is in compliance or meets what transition corridor sets out.
So from attached to the staff report, which it's not, and then the request, that whole sentence should be not part of this. That is not correct.
That's correct. I mean, the sheet is found in the 2040 plan for the transition corridor, and it was not attached, but it does state that only single-family, in terms of residential development, is appropriate land use, and appropriate zoning is RS40, or a new district, which obviously this is RM8 is not a new zone district. So neither is in compliance with the transition corridor, but as Ethan had stated, this is really just following a pattern of other rezonings to the south that have occurred over the last several years.
I think also, Brandon, I think you were the one that collected this at one point. So many things in the transition corridor don't even match. They will never have the zoning that was whoever, when they did the 2040 plan, they did not check the existing zoning.
Yeah, that's right. I think when this came up prior, it was a manufactured home zoning. They changed it to RM8, the adjoining parcels, and thinking that RM8 in this, and I want to say like 73% of the transition corridor section right there did not currently apply and could never comply with the future use in that area.
Any other questions or comments from the Planning Commission? Ms. Jones, if you will call the roll, please.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Ms. Sinyard,
Aye.
Ms. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Butler,
Aye.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Nay.
Ms. Williams,
Motion passes 6-2.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 3 under new business, PC Resolution PC 38-23, final plat, Goodwin Farms, 42 single-family lots on 33.11 acres, map 42, parcel 6503, 6504, 65.06, 65.07, 65.08. Property owners, Innovative Construction Company, LLC.
Make a motion to approve PC 3823.
Is there a second?
Second.
Callie Schulist. For the record, Mr. Butler recused himself from this one. Staff, we will start with your comments.
T-Square Engineering has submitted on behalf of Innovative Construction Company LLC. This is a final plat for Goodwin Farms. It's a residential subdivision development consisting of 42 lots, public right-of-ways, and stormwater detention infrastructure and open spaces. The land use within Goodwin Farms is single-family residences. 4 tracts of land are Zone R20, single-family residential, contains a total of 33.11 acres. Brush Creek is located to the northern portion of the property, adjacent Tennessee Highway 100. Therefore, there is a portion of the property located within flood hazard area, as indicated on FEMA flood panel. However, no portion of this proposed development is located within or disturbs any area within the designated flood hazard area. The final plat is in compliance with the approved site plan or development plan for Goodwin Farms subdivision. The subdivision was first submitted on June 3rd, 2022 under the name Atwater Cove. Development changed names with the second submittal on June 30th, 2022.
We never got one.
Fairview Ford 2040 Comprehensive Plan designates these properties as both legacy neighborhood, a residential medium, and transition corridor. Transition corridor designation is placed on the northern portion of the tract of lands that encompass the subdivision and has road frontage on Fairview Boulevard, Tennessee Highway 100. The legacy neighborhood designation is placed on the southern portion of the tract of land that encompasses the actual subdivision and has road frontage onto Old Nashville Road. The two future land use designations split the tracts of land essentially in half. Transition corridor notes the appropriate land uses are single-family, residence, office, civic, institutional. Appropriate zone districts are RS40. Legacy neighborhood classification notes the appropriate land uses are single-family, residential, and appropriate zone districts are RS40 and R20. The property zoning of R20 is existing, and the proposed land use of the single-family residence is in alignment with the future land use classifications placed on these tracts by the Fairview Forward 2040 plan. Staff's recommendation to the Planning Commission is approval of the Goodwin Farms final plat in order to create 42 single-family lots, public rights-of-way, stormwater infrastructure, and open spaces as submitted on October 10th, 2023, with the following single condition, as all staff comments to be addressed prior to the recording of this final plat.
Thank you. Either one of you gentlemen have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. We'll open it to the Planning Commission for question and comment. Hearing none. Ms. Jones, if you will please call the roll.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Ms. Sinyard,
Aye.
Ms. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Ms. Williams, Mr. McDonald,
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Before we move on to new business number 5, staff, I don't have anything in my packet for that.
We never received a staff report.
That is correct. This was a late addition to the agenda. As we've worked through trying to get everything caught up over the last few months, we've tried to get as much as we can on each agenda to work through this. This was originally submitted, the original submittal to our office was back in '21. Previous staff had worked through several different submissions with this applicant. And then this submittal was submitted July of '23, after we were here. And then this final submission came in on Friday of last week to make sure that we had enough information to go forward with bringing that to the Planning Commission. It is for a development plan for Otter Creek Phase 3 and 4 to finish out the development of Otter Creek. That had been addressed several times. You've looked at Phase 1, Phase 1, Section 1, Phase 1, Section 2, Phase 1, Section 3B, and Phase 2 currently. And now we are at Phase 3 of the project, which is one of the larger phases of the project. And they have brought to us a development plan for Phase 3 and Phase 4.
New business item number 5, PC Resolution PC 39-23, Development Plan, Otter Creek, Phases 3 and 4, 64 building lots on 66.92 acres, map 042, parcel 07800, property owners, Otter Creek Holdings, LLC.
Move for approval.
Second.
Anderson, Callie. Did you have any additional comments, staff, that other than what was just addressed?
We do have a couple additional comments. As far as the conditions for approval of this Phase 3 and Phase 4, number 1 would be all staff comments be addressed prior to the pre-construction meeting. Number 2, TDEC approval for the stream crossing between Phase 3 and Phase 4 be obtained prior to the recording of the final plat of Phase 3. And number 3, a physical roadway connectivity or alternative means of ingress-egress connectivity between phases 3 and 4 is to be constructed prior to issuance of any certificates of occupancy for phase 3 lots. The reason that those are our conditions of approval is in the subdivision regulation, it states that on a single access point, you can only have a maximum of 30 lots. And so if you look at the development plan that's in front of you, you have several lots that get tied together with phase 4 as they cross the stream. If you had someone over on what's your screen left that had an emergency and there was a fire at lot 138 in phase 2, having emergency services get all the way over there would be troublesome. And so that is why we have placed those conditions of approval as far as making sure that we can serve all of our community. From a staff standpoint, we are recommending approval for phase 3 and 4 together as presented on this development plan. And if you have any further questions, we can answer those.
Is there anything the applicant would like to add?
No, I mean, that's pretty much what we had discussed in just our meeting that we had with the city staff, so we agreed to that. Sharon, Mr. Hogan, do we need to read those 3 conditions in, or will they be captured by all staff comments?
They are in the resolution that
Perfect.
Ms. Rachel has here.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I don't know if we can go to page 5 of 6 of the package. But there are 2 lots that might technically meet the requirements, but I just don't see how in the world we could fit. Specifically lots 83 and 95. They're right at the stream where phases 3 and 4 meet. And based on the configuration of those property lines, you know, it would have to be an odd-shaped house, and technically the lot width, I think, here is supposed to be, what do we have, 100 feet at the building line, but because of the slope of the property within about 15, 20 feet, it starts to narrow back pretty significantly. So any thoughts? I mean, I'm not even for sure. The way I read the minimum lot width reading is it's at the building line, perpendicular to the property line. So if you have a triangular shaped property, you know, that is drastically reducing that width below the minimum lot width, how's that applicable? And again, if there's any way we can go to like sheet 5 of 6 of the submission. Lots 83 and 95 are just 2 that really stick out. 94 as well. I mean,
they would have to be, you know, our MI Homes is the builder on those, and they've also reviewed that with us. And of course, you know, they would have to do the lot would have to fall within the city regs as far as the setbacks. So, you know, we've had a couple of situations like that in the past, and we've had to kind of custom build the house to fit the lot. So I don't think I've actually went over that with them on a couple of lots that we had a little bit of questions on, and they seem to think there's no problem with that to fit within and make the, you know, the setbacks work.
yeah, and if I can just add to that, lot 94 looks like it should be an asterisk lot. Because of those slopes, that has to be a significantly greater slope than.
Well, we are going to be doing, we've had, I think there's probably over 200 and some odd thousand cubic yards of dirt. So we're going to have a lot of, a lot of material to work with to change that on the final before recording with our as-built. So I think we should be able to accommodate and be able to change that.
Is 94 long enough across the front?
I believe planning staff will address that. But I want to add to the critical lot comment. It does say in the middle right side, all lots are critical lots and will require plot plans be submitted for review. So all of these lots are denoted as critical. And I have made a comment to denote it with each lot to avoid confusion for any future review of this development plan, so that it's very apparent that all lots are critical.
Can then you help me with my interpretation of the building minimum width, especially, let's take lot 94.
It would be the width at the building setback line, so that NBSL, it had to be at least 100-foot wide in that cul-de-sac there.
I think what planning staff are looking up right now is that, and what was told to me is that it's the building line. It doesn't always mean that front setback line. It's the line in which the front of the house would be. I believe that's how it's interpreted and written, but they're going to confirm that here shortly.
And then, at least on the latest one, I'm not seeing your comment, but I wasn't seeing it addressed either about the critical lot being clearly denoted, so we might need to add that back to IDT.
I'll double check. Thank you. Tony, while they're looking that up, I know you had a concern about the street trees. Do you want to speak to that today, or?
Well, we can, as we've discussed, and I think we've talked about this. I don't know if this has come up, but, with all the new development that's going on at the same time, I think I think you guys agree with this, staff, that I foresee a huge problem in the future with planting trees between the sidewalks and curbs. It's going to become a great deal of financial liability. And, I think it would be much more useful to plant those trees behind the sidewalks and still make that part of the development. But the amount of development that's going on at the same time, and they're going to probably all be be the same problem at the same time. And I foresee that being a pretty big problem in the future. With this, we're planting 2-inch caliper, maple, pretty good fast growing trees. And I think that we'll probably see a problem with that in the future. Those subdivisions will be built and we'll long be gone, but I do think it's going to be a problem financially.
I was involved in this discussion when staff met with Mr. Cavender on Phase 3 and 4 of Otter Creek, and he poses a good point because I have a business next door. They planted a tree on the other side of the sidewalk. We had to have it removed because the roots of that tree raised the sidewalk enough that Farm Bureau and myself could not open our doors without it scraping the sidewalk. So it might be something that we want to look at. I know that, we've got plans to update our regulations, but, some things just need to be addressed now instead of later just because of this situation. We don't want to get too far down the line and then we have the same situation where roots are invading the sidewalks or the street, and then it becomes a city issue where we'll have to pay for that, fix or from the damage. So just something to think about.
currently if a tree dies or whatnot, in the HOAs and that we have, the homeowner is ultimately responsible for replacing that tree. So it doesn't rely on the burden of the HOA and drain and be a burden for the HOA. But, I just think you really need to look at that because, I don't have a problem with putting them where the city wants to put them. I just think it's going to be an issue later down the road.
Tony, where are the street trees in phases 2 and 1?
They're all in where they're supposed to, right now, every 40 feet inside between the back of curb and sidewalk. So I think I don't have a problem with this, but I'm just talking, we address that going forward and some other developments. I just think it's something that the city may want to look at and sooner than later because of the fast-growing trees that we're putting in.
So as it's shown in the typical right-of-way in the bottom right, the street trees are in that landscape 5.5-foot area. You're not looking to move those in phases 3 and 4. You want to have a continuity between all phases.
Yeah,
correct?
I think this one is too. I think this
Yeah, this is just an additional phase to an already started project, or
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 2 phases. I think what the discussion was is in future developments, we might want to take a look at this just because, my experience was not good. Our sidewalks lifted, we can't open our doors properly. The same thing's going to happen with our city streets and sidewalks.
Well, I think put them on the back of the sidewalk, still within the homeowner's yard is still, you're still getting the same look. It's just moving it off and trying to keep that within an area that's not going to be a future problem for the existing sidewalks that's being put in. But yes, I think we fully plan on putting our street trees in, making that part of our contractual obligation with our builders as they build the homes, they put their sidewalks in, they put their street trees in. But this is just being brought up going forward on some developments that I just think is, we have a big northwest corridor is ours, and we've got both sides of the road over there on that. We're building the new northwest highway through the middle of that, and so we're three-laning it, and I think, with the sidewalks that's going in and stuff, it's really pretty, but I think we're better off in keeping the trees away from the roads and maybe putting our streetlights into, it's still going to be very attractive, but I just think moving those trees are probably going to be a smart move, that going forward.
Staff, all of Otter Creek has been incorporated into the city, right?
That is correct. It is now all within the city.
So we have a line showing it in Williamson County on the plans? Half of it?
That is a line that was left on the drawing by the engineer. Yes.
It's not been removed.
Mr. Chairman, just one note on the trees. Some neighboring counties require what's called a root guard. They go in front of the sidewalk, go in front of the curb. It's helped a little bit, so maybe they could help if we could implement that. It could help on some of the current neighborhoods the trees are going in, and then we can have a discussion about going forward if we want to keep doing that or not, because I agree they grow to be big.
Yeah, I don't know how far down the tree conversation we want to get right now, but my question would be, my understanding is you're saying instead of between the sidewalk and the road, put it on between the structure and the sidewalk, correct? So how far back off the sidewalk do you have to set the tree before it doesn't create the same issue from the other side?
Well, there's different, certain cities are requiring different things, but a lot of cities are starting to adopt that because of the damage that's done. But I would think if a tree is, grows, 30 foot tall or whatever, I would think that you would probably want to plant that and make it at least 15 feet off of the sidewalk.
Well, I am no tree expert, but I would feel pretty safe guessing that depending on the type of tree, the root system grows differently, correct? Some probably go deep, some are shallow. So again, I don't know how far down this road we want to go on this conversation at the moment, but I think it could branch off into a lot of different conversations.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Did y'all find that answer on the front of that lot?
Yeah, so we were looking up in regards to the requirements, and so the requirement is so minimum zone lot requirements is width 100 feet, and it states in feet measured at the building line. The zoning ordinance does not define what the building line is. It does not say it's a setback line. There's no definition of what that actually means, so it'd be up for interpretation. So my guess, saying it's the specific building line, it would be what Curtis was talking about. Was in the past it's been interpreted to be at the front line of the building, wherever that building is sited on that lot. Without a definition, we're not sure, but in that case, if it's possible for them to set the structure back to the point that it's 100 foot wide, then that would, without a definition, clear definition, that would essentially meet the 100 foot wide at the building line, since that would be the line at which the building is sited. Just trying to look at the terminology and the word that's used without having an official definition in the zoning ordinance of what's being meant by that. Ethan's looked through the entire zoning ordinance. There's no definition anywhere as far as what building line means or any kind of indication of what that's intended to mean. So we have to interpret that to some degree. So it is 100 feet. That is not at the actual lot frontage, or road frontage is not 100 feet. It's just at the building line. So the actual width of that lot 94 appears to be adequate. And in terms of lot width, 100 feet would be if they are able to site the structure at the location where it'd be 100 feet wide, then I think it'd be kind of hard to say it doesn't meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
Does that apply to all three lots that was in question?
Yes, that's just a standard requirement for this particular zoning district.
I mean, we probably need to have that clarification in the future. To me, it's a zoning discussion. It's a capacity of density, and there's a reason for R20 to have 100 foot wide built, lots, and for us to kind of squeeze lots into corners and creeks. And to me, I think it creates a higher density than what's intentional with an R20. But that's my interpretation. Rest of the board might not agree with that.
Yeah, I would say in the absence of a clear definition, I think the proper thing would be fall on precedent, whatever we've been doing, right? So surely we have dealt with this in the past, I would imagine. How was it handled at that point? Should I repeat? It's okay. I understand. I was just saying, if in the absence of a clear definition, I would think precedent would be the next thing to look at, right? So surely this isn't the first time. I was just curious if anything could be drawn from that. And I'm not expecting you to have that answer right off the top of your head, but just, I don't know. I would imagine that surely we can find examples of what we've been doing that we could apply to this situation.
Correct. That would be the best way to go about it, just to go back and see how previous staff and had previous projects have been reviewed and how that had been applied, and just kind of see that as a pattern of operation, pattern of interpretation, and then we can for sure look for that and see how it's been done in the past.
And then since all lots are deemed critical, that would just be added to that review process, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Magner, did that answer
What if
sufficient
that
for you?
changes the lot size? I mean, what happens? Do they become unbuildable if we've been
Exactly.
reading it at the front building line?
That's what I think staff at
The-
that point would make.
Do, like,
If
if
they were to submit a site plan and it was unbuildable, it wouldn't fit inside the setbacks or requirements, they wouldn't be able to pull the permit. So it would be deemed unbuildable on that lot. They would have to, especially with this new site plan that you have in front of us right now, they just submit a site plan with the building permit to show the footprint. And so if
Right.
if it couldn't fit or didn't conform,
So if we go back and what's been honored is the front building setback, not where the house is sitting, then potentially these lots could be unbuildable.
it's always been the setback line in recent history. Most commonly is cul-de-sacs. Your cul-de-sacs will shrink.
That's what I was like, I feel like we've
and the building line would be the setback.
I've actually had them like that now approved in some of our developments already.
Just make sure, are we setting a precedent? So can we have a development with all triangular lots where the front of it's 100 feet, but it tapers to 0 in the bass? And so we have an R20 neighborhood of a bunch of,
I don't think technically it would eventually catch up with itself. It'd still have to be 20,000 square foot. But I think eventually you would have to widen them.
okay.
Yeah, I think the lot layout would depend on the shape of the road, and I think in theory maybe, but trying to draw out a site plan that would fit, I think that wouldn't be beneficial to anybody involved. But I understand what you're saying, not to downgrade your question. but- yeah.
Sorry, just,
No,
we gotta be careful because we've got a lot of other developments about to come up and.
Well, with Fairview's fine topo and some of the things that we have to deal with, this, in almost every development, unless it's just a smaller one, it's hard to do that. And you can see this is our straight zoning R20, and you can see the open space that we've had to, it's just tough to deal with. So I think we originally had this submitted, I think it was, I don't know, gosh, I don't know exactly, but it probably is 80 houses more than we're showing, and you see how I think it's going to be the size of Richville that we just got through building. It's I think 141 lots total, or somewhat, in that area.
Any additional questions or comment? Ms. Jones, if you will please call the roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Mr. Butler,
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Ms. Sinyard,
Abstain.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye. Motion passes 7-0-1, I think. Moving on to bonds and letter of credit. Is this a typo, or oh, never mind. It's reclamation and performance. I read it the same. I thought it was just literally the same thing written twice. Number 1, Otter Creek Springs Phase 3 reclamation bond amount.
If I need to define why they're separate as far as reclamation before it's go.
No,
okay.
I just glanced at it, and I
Okay.
thought it said reclamation twice, and
Gotcha.
all good. Number 2, Otter Creek Springs Phase 3 performance bond amount.
So the reclamation/stabilization bond amount will be in the amount of $2,671,700. The performance bond amount will be in the amount of $4,413,156.
Just a request in the future, can we have those figures on here?
Sure.
Thank you. We will move on to reports for discussion and information, starting with the planning staff. I'm not sure who's covering this. Is that engineering is going to get to that, or planning won't let you take it away?
Chairman, if you will, I'll introduce this. My name is Will Owen. For those that don't know me, I'm with Griggs and Maloney, and we have been providing consulting services both on the engineering and the planning side through Curtis and Kevin. We appreciate the opportunity that you've provided us to rejoin your community and try to contribute to planned and organized growth. I don't know that anyone would utilize those two adjectives with the recent past. So we appreciate your patience as we sort through new city staff and our staff being brought up to speed. So what I'd like to do is give a quick report kind of what we've been doing. As the mayor mentioned, we had a couple of meetings with longtime and regular developers and builders in the past couple weeks to kind of help them understand where we're headed and what some of the efforts are amongst your internal staff and then our staff with Griggs and Maloney. We've been here, I believe, now 3 months, I think, is where we're closing in on. That has allowed Ethan and Curtis and Kevin the opportunity to have a better understanding of where some existing developments lie in the approval process, where some deficiencies were in existing developments and their submittals, and to try to merge where those developments physically are as far as in their development process and where they are procedurally. And a couple of the items that you saw before you tonight was a culmination of that merging. So it is not the intention of Mr. Greer or any of our staff to make that the norm. If anything, we want to go completely opposite of that. But until we get through some of this backlog, there may still continue to be some items that feel and are last minute in an effort to accommodate procedural aspects and to bring those procedural aspects in line with where the actual development is on the ground. We've identified 4 areas that we are going to target improvements in. The first area is with the IDT system. There are significant revisions that are needed with the IDT system. That is, for those of you that may not know, that's your submittal portal for developers. Some of the terminology used in the types of submittals and how they're titled and what the application looks like, they do not coincide with the titles that are found in your regulatory documents. So for instance, you may recall seeing something titled on your agenda, Site Plan Commercial, and it's a subdivision. So we're in the process of, again, we've identified a lot of these things, and over the next probably 6 to 12 months, you're going to start to see some movement in revising a number of these items. So the first item is IDT improvements. The second item is submittal reviews and staff comments. I have challenged our staff with transitioning and moving away from having lists and pages of comments that your approvals are contingent upon. We need to be able to provide initial review comments to an applicant in a timely manner so that they have time to make revisions and get those revisions resubmitted and allow the staff time to review those revisions and then create a staff report with comments that may still be outstanding. So that is the target. That's the goal we're moving towards as far as submittal reviews and staff comments. The third item is permitting and inspections, which doesn't entirely fall under your purview, but it is in the whole process of cradle to grave when it comes to developments. So while you don't necessarily deal with building permits, your staff does, and this staff does, from a standpoint of providing inspections for lots and erosion control of those lots, and then both initial and final, and then also providing sign-offs on certificates of occupancy to the building inspector. And then the last thing is, which I think you guys may have discussed this already, I know Kevin's already started on it, is codifying past changes or revisions that have been made to both all 4 of the documents, right? Stormwater ordinance, subregs, zoning ordinance, and design review manual. So there are changes that have been made over the course of the last 3 to 4 years. and those are proper, valid changes that have been adopted by either this board, if it pertains to the subregs, the design review manual, or the Board of Commissioners, if it pertains to the zoning ordinance. And it is become challenging for both applicants and staff to review submittals in accordance with what has currently been adopted. So the idea would be that on a regular basis, at least annually, you would codify your regulatory documents so that at the beginning of each year, you have a posted document on your website, subreg, zoning ordinance, design review manual, and stormwater ordinance, that is good up until January 1 of that particular year. And then each year, you would codify and make a parent document so that everybody is on the same field as far as submittals and reviews. And then the last thing, which has been touched on tonight, this is still part of 4 in codifying the documents. I'm going to suggest to you that you consider and be open to considering revisions to your subregs and your zoning ordinance. I know that there is an upcoming RFQ that will be issued for a complete overhaul of those documents. My anticipation, based on my experience being in the industry for several years, is even if you were to give the green light to a consultant tomorrow, you're probably 2 years away before fully adopting a revised document at a minimum. Want to get plenty of public input, both from the development world and citizens, and then you want to have time to digest that input that you receive. In the meantime, I think it's important, even something as simple as how we define lot width and where it's measured. I think it's important that we identify maybe a handful, half a dozen or so each month, possibly, and bring those to you. And I'm not talking about major controversial things. I'm just talking about just clarifying so that it will help both the applicants and the applicants' designers and our staff to review properly. That's a long-winded way of saying, I know it's been frustrating. We've felt the frustration. We're frustrated too. Applicants are frustrated. It has been a cumbersome process. There's no way around it. But we also want to convey to you that we've developed some plans for moving forward, and the goal would be, at a minimum, this time next year, we've had a number of these things, if not all of them, implemented to where your processes are more streamlined, they're more understood by everyone, both commission and board of commission, and then our staff and applicants as well. So with that, the item before you tonight is something that Curtis has created, and it primarily pertains to individual single-family home lots. When they apply for a building permit, one of the things that the zoning ordinance requires is what's called a site plan. One of the suggestions that I'm going to have with our staff and bringing forward to you is clearly and better differentiating titles of documents. So there's about 4 dozen references to site plans, and they can mean different things depending on what you're saying. So the first thing I would tell you is, and I've talked to Curtis about this, we're going to change the terminology site plan on this document. And this has not gone out, by the way. This is a draft document for you to see tonight. To try to get some feedback from you probably at the December meeting, if you have any, and then in an attempt to January 1 start and implement what we're calling for in this letter here. I'm suggesting that we change the term site plan to plot plan. So that's what will be accompanying a building permit for a single-family residential structure. And that plot plan, as you see, Curtis has outlined what's required of that plot plan. The goal, it will be some additional effort by builders who are applying for a building permit on the front end. it will more than pay for itself or cover itself on the back end, where we're seeing a number of driveway slope violations and yard drainage violations when we get to final inspection. The hope, the intention is that by submitting a plot plan with very detailed grading, both existing and proposed when the house is built, that there is less violations or conflicts that are discovered in final inspections. That's the goal. And if everyone has the right and same expectation when the building permit is issued, then we can streamline the certificate of occupancy and closing out those building permits in a more timely fashion. Curtis, I don't know if you want to get into any more details. I know it's been a long night already. I suggest maybe we open it up if you have any questions on anything I've said tonight, and then more specifically on anything that you see in the letter before you.
Chairman?
I was reading.
Oh, I'm just asking if I can.
Oh, yeah, you can go ahead. I thought you were.
Thank you. Okay, so the last thing you said, is that for a single-family home?
Yes.
So that would just be in front of staff, that wouldn't come to the planning commission?
Correct. You would never, the only reason, Curtis and I debated on whether or not to even bring this before
I mean,
you.
I knew the answer to that, I just
Correct.
wanted you to.
Understood.
Yeah, okay.
Because you don't deal with building permits. Like, that's not under your purview. But the requirement for a plot plan submittal is found in the zoning ordinance. So that's why we wanted to maybe bring this before you. And also, it would be anticipated that there'll be some belly aching from the building community, at least initially. So we want you to be informed as to when you start hearing those things, if this is implemented at the first of the year, there's a reason behind it. We're not trying to implement additional regulation just for the sake of regulation. We're trying to streamline and be more efficient with the resources that you do have available.
Okay, and also, okay, so I was getting, what spurred all this on, I was getting all kinds of calls about all kinds of different things from builders, developers, not understanding why things are done the way they're done now and stuff like that. So I talked to Ethan and I said, please, let's get a meeting together and let's have our codes, all of our codes department and Olive Griggs, welcome back, love you guys, and Tom, myself, and 2 longtime developers and builders from the city of Fairview. So I think we spent 2 solid days doing that. And this was about a week and a half ago. What we found from that is the builders and developers didn't really understand what Ethan and Kevin and Curtis, Will as well, were having to go through from the prior administration and things that were kind of wonky to the way it really needs to be done. And so they're having to work through all of that on top of getting all of their work done. So it was very frustrating for them. It was frustrating for the builders and developers. So when we had this meeting, we all came together. I think the builders and developers, were able to understand and see the staff side of it. And then the staff was able to see where the builders and developers were, being frustrated. So in that meeting, what we talked about is I have asked this to happen for 3 years now. Of course, when I was elected commissioner, it was not welcomed. But now I feel like we have the right puzzle pieces or pieces to the puzzle to, in addition to IDT, not stopping IDT, but in addition, we go back to a staff review meeting where we have, like we did before, like we did the whole time I was on the planning commission for over 10 years. We have our fire, our police, our water. Matter of fact, I was at water board meeting last night. They were excited with the prospect of us going back to that, because there's something that's missed when you're not face to face. And, the IDT is great, but, it does need some tweaking. But the staff review meeting, the way it worked is we would have, the applicant come, maybe 3 or 4 would come in, and they would take turns meeting with us and all the participants, police, fire, codes, some, like a representative, say myself or whoever, and then, Tom, if he wants to sit in, to be able to work through issues and get, be face-to-face and work through all of those before things come to the Planning Commission. So it's more worked out and more handled, and the Water Authority, and everyone knows what's going on before it comes to the Planning Commission, and then this one wasn't able to talk to this one and stuff like that, and it gets a little, askew. So that's kind of was in the discussion. And also, I recommend that we have a workshop where the builders and developers can come and have our staff and our engineering staff, also engineering and planning and our codes department work together to do this workshop where we can explain the process to our developers and builders, maybe that, to get some continuity in there. And then I guess my last thing is, if we have, I keep hearing, let's wait until, this revision to the subregs and the zoning ordinance happens before we do something. I'm sorry. There are things that have come up that need to be handled now. So I feel like that, we'll do it a case-by-case basis, but if there's something that needs to be handled now, then we need to go ahead and do that. Because like Will said, which I appreciate so much, you took everything that we talked about in the meeting and you did the bullet points and answered everything that was, asked of your group and the questions everyone had. So I appreciate that. But, like Will said, the subregs revisions and zoning ordinance will take up to 2 years. So we have things that we need to address before that. So I think we need to all be aware that that's something that needs to be done.
Can I ask 2 questions about your draft? Just from working in residential construction, I'm used to 1 foot contour seems like I have to special request that. 2 foot seems more typical, and we do have a lot of grade here. Is there a reason you're looking for 1 foot?
I think it would pertain to the lot size sometimes. If you don't have a lot of fall in a lot, it's kind of tough to determine whether there's positive drainage coming from the building. I do know that we require as-built prior to the final plat being recorded. And so with that as-built information, these home builders should have access to that and use that as their existing topo. And if I'm correct, I believe the as-built information will allow that 1 foot contour interval. And then as far as proposed contours, I mean, that's designed, so.
And then on the final ESCP compliance, I had this wording kind of come up recently in a couple site with new administration in other cities, that they were making that no exposed soil shall be present on site to even apply to garden areas, like it had to be mulched or pine strawed. And so we may want to clarify that it's more like the sod areas, if that's your intention. If you think around every plant in a garden needs to be pine strawed, then we probably should say that as well.
That's a good addition. Thank you.
Chairman, just a note from Ms. Sinyard's discussion, and you just said, Curtis, it may depend on lot size, but I agree that 1 foot could be intrusive. What if it's a 5 or a 10 acre lot or something that wasn't on a recorded plat with an as-built? I don't know if there's some language that we could adjust there, so you're not trying to have somebody shoot a 5 acre piece and trying to get 1 foot in, contours or so. If that makes sense.
And one question a citizen had asked me about are we requiring architect stamps on all residential homes? Because that's not, I mean, Tennessee's unfortunately
No.
not a state that requires that, so a lot of architects, even accomplished ones, no longer carry their license.
We do not require stamps on single-family homes under 5,000 square feet. But if it is stamped, has to be stamped by a Tennessee licensed architect.
And if not, just cut it off. Cut the title block off. No, seriously. If they cut the title block off, then they're fine.
That's acceptable. It was something that came up and I was like, well, that's kind of weird. It's not really typical.
Other comments for Mr. Broadbent? Or questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
Will.
Yeah, Mr. Owen.
I had a longtime mayor that I'd worked with call me Mr. Alcorn for the last 6 months, so I'll answer to anything.
My
Thank you.
apologies.
No, no worries. Thank you, guys.
Just for the rest of the planning staff, thank you all for coming out for the training, those who were here. Everyone has now completed their 4 hours requirement of training. Thank you to Kevin Chasteen with Greg Maloney for hosting our planning commissioner training tonight. And thank you all for working so hard for our city and for trying to keep track of everything that we're doing to try to move the city forward. So thank you.
Tom, do you have anything to add tonight?
Not much. We all have a vision, and I just appreciate Greg's and Will and Curtis and Kevin and Ethan, and to just, sometimes to me, I'd rather have it right than to just be so fast that, I really feel like we're moving in a direction where when it's the end product, I think it's something we can be very proud of, and I just appreciate everybody's patience. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Broadbent, do you have anything to add for the engineering department?
I think I'm good for tonight. Thank you.
Just a quick note following on that discussion. I think sounds like there's a lot of appetite for making changes and necessary changes that need to happen. And as that process moves forward, I think it's important to consider the different roles between the BOC and this commission. And this commission is supposed to apply what the BOC has passed. And in doing that, when you identify things that are unclear, like a building line, what does a building line mean? Well, it's a different word than lot line. It's a different word than setback line, so maybe it means something different. So I think as this commission, you should, and your duty is to apply the code that's been passed by the BOC. And when the BOC finds that your interpretation of what they've written isn't working out well, that's what's going to generate staff to bring recommendations to the BOC that says we need to amend the zoning ordinance here or there. But your diligent applying the code as written is what's going to identify those issues so that the BOC can then make amendments to the code. So just food for thought.
Thank you. Mr. Magner, we will start down there with you.
I appreciate the checklist. In the past, we've had a lot of asterisk lots and staff burden that would say, well, we'll remember to pick that up. And that's a heavy burden on you. So I appreciate you sharing this checklist. This is a good thing. Thank you.
Commissioner Butler, do you have anything?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the great training tonight, and thank you for the presentation tonight, Mr. Owen and company, and thank you for everyone's continued effort and hard work. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cowley.
Just thanks to the staff, as everybody else is saying, and that's about it.
Thank you for the presentation, or the training tonight. I wish we'd done this like 4 years ago, but now it's never too late, I guess. And I would love to have PDFs of that presentation, if you can send that out. Thank you.
Kevin has said that he'll have those to me in the morning. As soon as he gets them to me, I'll send them out to the same group that receives the agenda.
Ms. Williams?
No, I concur with everybody. The transparency and the level of detail and commitment has been very rewarding as a new member, and I really appreciate that. I know our citizens do too.
I just want to thank Stuart Johnson for serving as my appointee while I've been with my mom. She's been ill, and she lives over an hour away, so my night with the rest of the family was Tuesday nights. I have gotten that changed. There's a lot going on, and I feel it's important for me to be up here again, so I just appreciate his hard work while I was not able to be up here serving as my appointee. If I didn't understand how hard these guys work after 2 days of sitting and working through all the issues, I do now. And I really appreciate you. When I was on the Planning Commission before, Will and Griggs were right there with us, and I just am really excited because this is a good group of people, along with Ethan and the rest of our staff. After those meetings, I really saw they're working hard to get continuity, and they really want to do a good job for this board and for the developers and builders to make it easier for them. So I just appreciate y'all. So, and appreciate the board. Y'all have really good questions, and, you know, just not up here voting. You're really wanting to make a difference for our city, and that's what it's all about. Thank you.
Ms. Sinyard?
I know it's a really careful balance. Usually I'm on the other side of the table, you know, where my timetable's getting cut short because a staff member did it wrong. But it is sometimes frustrating and hard to vote on things, and so you'll continue to see me more and more probably push back on the last minute agenda items. The city, you know, citizens aren't able to see the agenda if it's not posted, and when things aren't responded to, we all have full-time jobs as well that we're trying to volunteer and be up here effectively. And so if we're not able to review the documents in a timely manner, it's not fair to vote on it.
I would just like to echo the appreciation for the workshop. Found it, I think it's just good to review the process just to keep it fresh in everyone's mind, as well as the citizens to just be able to understand it too, since they don't live in the world as often as we do. Just a comment I have, and I hope this isn't taken the wrong way, but we don't have the ability to speak amongst ourselves on the items that we review and vote on here. And I don't think any one of us would claim to be perfect, so there are times where maybe in that review process we miss something that maybe we should have seen that might have changed our opinion. So personally, and then it's obviously it's up to every individual, there's not forcing you to do anything, but if in the future you feel the need to vote no on an item, I personally would love to know why. Then that's just because maybe I missed something. And if you can elaborate on the issue that you found that causes you to vote no, it may change other votes, and your no vote might be impactful. So that's just 2 cents that, you know, it's just a personal request is all. But other than that, I will take a motion to adjourn.